Okay guys, today we're going to show you how to convert your G4, your standard G4, and make it into an expert tunnel. We're doing a 165 here today. Once we take the stock bumper off, it's going to, all these holes line up to your factory holes, and then that'll be your guideline to where you are going to trace this and cut your back your tunnel. What we have here is the snow flap brace that will come with this kit, and this is our bypass tube. So you need to use like a 53, 56 TIG rod. We use the 332, and highly recommend having someone, you know, that's a really good TIG welder to do this job for you. And then yeah, so this is a expert factory snow flap brace, and we've modified it a bit. We cut it back an inch, so we get maximum coolant with this. And actually, when we put the snow flap on it after, it will hide the weld as well, so you shouldn't need to do any paint touch up or anything. This is our whole kit right here, our whole bumper tunnel stiffener kit that we recommend buying with this kit. You can buy it with or without. We also recommend getting the extended snow flap with this, just for the trail rides up and stuff, because it does run a little bit hotter, I found. So this really helps a lot. And then once you get up in the mountains, you know, you just turn it upside down and put it underneath your luggage bag. And here's some of the tools that we're going to use today. We're going to peel the decals off in that and just use some adhesive cleaner and stuff. Use the heat gun. We use a 3/8 wrench, 7/16 wrench, and I'm using for a bumper kit, the stainless steel bolts in that. Even though they're standard, I find that the 4mm socket fits in the heads better, and a 1/8 socket for the 1032s for the bumper as well. And then we're going to drill the rivets off the snow flap bracket, the factory one, and I always use pliers underneath it to stop the rivets from spinning, so you don't do burnouts in it and melt the snow flap. And then we get a marker and a straight edge for marking the tunnel. And we're going to cut this one with a jigsaw today. Okay guys, I find that acetone actually works better for taking the glue off on this. It's not affecting the paint at all. So now we're going to take this track off for the wiring. Same thing, we want to hold the back side of the rivet so it doesn't spin. And this track just pops out. Then we're going to drill these rivets out as well, so we can lift it up and get the jigsaw underneath it. Alright, so now we're going to put a tunnel brace on and put a couple of bolts in it. These factory holes line up, and that's going to be our guideline. And then right from this point, we're just going to go straight up. This is our manifold that we're going to put in here. And we're going to go measure another 1.25 inches ahead of this line. We want to cut it out 13.25 inches. So right where this rivet hole is will be our center line. So 13.25. It's 6 5/8 each side. 6 5/8. So 1.25 inches. 13 1/8. Okay guys, so we already raised the front of the sled up, and we pre-drilled a hole here in the back of the cooler to drain all the antifreeze out of it. So yeah, make sure you take the rad cap off too, so that the air can flow through and drain it. So we did that outside so we didn't have a mess in the shop already. So now we're just gonna bore some holes in the corners here, because that's where we're gonna weld up to, which you'll see later in this video. Alright, so we're going to put some masking tape on it so that we don't scratch it up with the jigsaw. Alright guys, so we just measured 3/8 in from the end of the tunnel on both sides to locate these rivet holes right here. We're going to bolt this up next, and once we tighten this up, then we're going to be able to drill this rivet hole through the side. 13 7/8, sorry. Center to center. Tunnel brace in, and we got to mark that hole. Okay guys, so we're going to put our screws in again to line this up. We're going to mark that hole. Our side plates are going to cover this after, but we're going to make a relief hole for the rivet head. So we have our rivet relief holes in there. And now what we're going to do is take this off and get this cooler tube welded in here. So we're going to crank the front of the sled up, so if there's any more fluids in the cooler, we're going to drain it now.
Okay, I've taken a vice grip and I put it underneath the cooler, needle nose vice grip. There's a small hole there. I do that so we can keep a constant ground on it. I'm going to take my cooler bridge. The rolled edge goes to the bottom at the back of the sled. Open holes to the front to the cooler, obviously. Then I'm going to take it and I'm going to center it. I'm going to stay flush at the top of the tunnel at the highest point. I'm going to tack each corner. So I've got two good tack welds in the corners here. So now I'm going to go to this edge before it dips down, and I'm going to put two tacks. Now at this point here, you'll notice there's dimples in the tunnel. I'm going to come and I'm going to put one on each side of the raised part so it's flush with the top. Okay, I've got tacks in both corners. And I've done all the high spots now. So now I'm going to go put two good tacks in these low valleys here. So the reason that we're doing these in this sequence is because this is very thin material in the tunnel, And if you just start winging it and going across, it's gonna start going up and down in a big snake, and it's not gonna be good. So now that we've tacked all up here, we're gonna move down to the bottom. We're gonna start putting some tacks in there, kind of in the same procedure. When you start welding on it, I've welded on the top, and I can tell that it's kind of affected the way that things have moved down here. So if I want to, you know, get stuff just sitting a little better, just to start off with, it's going to help you in the end when you actually continue your final weld. You know, I'll give it a little tweak with the vice grip to hold it nice and tight. Put a tack. The other side is good, so I don't have to do that. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to do these ones. Okay, when you start welding this top section, you're really going to want to take your time and move around. Like I'm going to weld this section, the far corner, then I'm going to move to the other section, do that. And if you see that you're putting too much heat into it, just slow down, take your time, because it'll start to warp and it's going to be a mess to clean up with. So just go slow, low heat. This material that your bridge material is way thicker than your tunnel material, so remember to focus more heat into this. Okay, so I've pretty much welded all of this across the top here. So I have tacked all my corners, pretty good welds in them. But before I flip the sled on its side to finish the rest of it, I'm really gonna make sure that I have my best chance to not have a leak and make it easier on myself so I don't have to fix something later. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come with the TIG rod or the TIG torch from the bottom. I'm gonna try to fill these corners as much as possible. Okay, you can see how we have our sled positioned now. I have it cranked up in the rear to a comfortable height. I have it a stool underneath the handlebars so it's not going to flip on me. So now I'm just going to come and I'm going to start welding. I'm going to weld these two corners first. Then I'm going to come across here. I'm going to weld all this. Then I'm going to come back here, and after there's some nice heat in it and everything's strong and tacked, I'm going to gently tap these in. Okay, so now that I've got all my welding is done, minus these parts, and I'm going to gently tap them in. So explain a welding rod. Okay, now that I've tapped that down, I'm going to go with a thicker welding rod, and I'm going to put a tack in the center just to make sure nothing moves on me. So I got my pressure tester on the cooling system here. I have my overflow clamped off, and I'm going to go to about 15 pounds. If you go over 15 pounds, you could actually push the tunnel out. I've seen it happen, and it's not good. Clamp her off. Begin the soapy water process. Okay, so right here, these are factory welds that come up the tunnel. There's also a factory weld right there. These are all milled off, so you can't really tell, but that's what they are. So with this one, I could see where it ends. And if you were to get a leak there, you're just gonna go to like pretty much the end of the factory weld and cap it, and that'll be good. Same with this one. You could go to the end of the factory weld, cap it, you'd be good. Places where you're gonna have your problems with your leaks are always gonna be here, here, and here, where the factory welds are. Those will be the tough ones to get out. Anything in here is pretty simple. If you do have one that's, you know, in here, a lot of times it's better off to just die grind it and weld it again with lightly, rather than to try to go over it. So I want to remind everyone that anytime you do any welding on a cooling system, you always have to have the rad cap off In this case, I'm going to keep the pressure tester on, and then you're going to relieve the pressure so you don't have a big blowout and big mess to clean up later.
We're not riveting these in yet because those go through the snow flap as well. But we got to put these side ones in. Now we're going to rivet this track back down for the wires. So right here we came to the conclusion not to drill this hole in the center here and rather just weld it from both sides. Okay guys, now we're just going to install our bumper here using our little button head screws. I usually put a little dab of blue Loctite on these, which I already pre-did already. This is a new hole that we've added into the bumper. It doesn't come in the stock one, but it's just an additional hole that we put. And then our 5/8 long one is going to go through this front one here. Side. So we got the extended snow flat bracket on right now, and what we're going to do is we got to modify this a little bit because this bumper is a little bit lower than the factory one. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these bolts out and we're going to lower the holes in the actual flat, so it sticks out like that. Okay guys, so we used an air extractor that gets all the air out of the cooling system and pretty much guarantees that you won't have any airlocks in this system. But if you don't have that, you know, fill her up with coolant and stuff and lift your front end up in the air and that, and feel the back of the cooler and stuff while it's running, and make sure that the heat is going around, the coolant is circulating properly, and even, you know, check it a couple times on the trail going up. And other than that, I hope you enjoyed this install video, and if you guys have any other questions, feel free to call us anytime. Thanks.